So for our third and final worksheet, we're going to be creating an overview of all of our data that we want to be represented to our end user, all in just one little scope, or one little snapshot rather. So we're going to be doing this by making a series of bar charts for all of our measures that we have that are relevant to our data. So that's looking at some of our sales, our profit margin that we made, and we're also going to be creating two more fields, or two more measures rather, that are important to us in our overview. So the first is going to be by creating a measure by converting a dimension into a measure. And so we're going to be doing this with our customer name dimension. So if we go to our customer name, we're going to bring down the drop-down menu and use the convert to measure. When we do this, we now see it comes down here underneath the horizontal line, and it's represented as a measure, and it's in our count D aggregation. So that's exactly what we want. And the next measure we're going to be making is actually another calculated field. So we're going to do create a calculated field, and we're going to call this sales per customer. So the reason why we created the customer name measure is because we're actually using this in our calculated field. So what we're going to do is sum our sales, and we're going to divide that by the count D. Make sure you are using count D and type in our customer name measure. Excellent. So once we have our calculated field created, we'll click OK. So now we have all the measures that we want to use in our customer overview. So we're going to begin by making our bar charts. So instead of using each individual measure, we're going to be using our measure names and our measure values that are created for us by Tableau automatically, and they allow us to do exactly what we want to do. So we're going to begin by adding our measure names into columns. Right, so measure names contains all the names of all of our measures, right? Pretty straightforward. And we want to pair that with our measure values, which are each observation for each of our measure names. So let's add measure values also into our columns shelf. Excellent. So now we see a bar chart created for each measure that we have. So we're on the right track, but we want to add some more granularity, and we do this by adding our region. So now we get to see our profit for each region, our profit margin for each region, for example, and we do this by adding region into our row shelf. Perfect. So once we've done this, now we can start to format the way we want our overview to look like. So we don't want every single measure included in our overview. For example, we don't want orders, we don't want returns, and we don't want discount. So I can simply just drag and drop into our data pane to get rid of these three. And we have 5 measures currently, but we also want to add a 6th, which is our customer name measure that we created. I'll drag the customer name into our measure values card here on the left, and so now we should have 6 measures, starting with our customer name, going down to sales per customer, but we want to order them in a specific way. So let's drag, we're going to drag sales underneath customer name. You can see my little orange triangle letting me know where it's going to go. So sales, and underneath sales is going to be quantity. Make sure you see that orange triangle to drop it where you want. And sales per customer is going to go above profit. And we're going to leave profit and profit margin alone. They should both be at the bottom. Okay, perfect. So now we have our bar charts set up the way we want. Let's now do some sorting. So we're going to actually sort in descending order. That way it looks like west is our best performing, and it goes down to south, which is our worst performing. So then we have this set up, and we're just going to format now some of our bar charts to look and be creative with how we format it, because we know that this is going to go on our dashboard. So we want it to look the way we do. We want it for that purpose, right? For our user to interact with our overview and be able to use this worksheet as the source for filtering the other worksheets that we created. So we don't want some of our axes to be here, so we want to get rid of our x-axis. So to do that, I'm going to right click on the axis, doesn't matter which one, and I'm going to uncheck the show header button. So that gets rid of our x-axis, and we want to get rid of our field label here, which says region. So if you right click on region, we can hide field labels. This gets rid of region. That's perfect. So one change we're going to make is actually changing the name of one of our bar charts. Right, distinct count of customer name, that one doesn't quite sound right. So let's right click and click edit alias. And so now we're going to change this to count of customers to make it seem make a little bit more sense. Okay, so we have this, and now we're just going to format some of the dividers that we have, because we want this to be on its own. We don't want it to show on a axis or on a plane. So we're actually going to right click on any space in the bar chart, and we're going to go format. And so now we have all of our format configurations on the left here. So we're going to start in our borders. If you click on our square border, we're going to use column divider, and we're going to do none. So that takes away our column divider. And we're going to select the rows tab now, and we're going to take away the row divider. So select none. Perfect. And all we have to do now is just get rid of our grid lines. Right? There should be some grid lines here. So I'm going to do, let's see. Sheet. Yeah, so I'm going to get rid of my grid lines here. So if I go into format lines here to the right of our borders, I'm going to find grid lines and select none. So now we should just have our y-axis, which is our region, and we have our title of each bar chart, and then we have each observation. So to add some more context, we're going to go into our labels card here in the marks card, and we're going to select show mark labels like we've done before. And so now this gives us an exact observation shown to us, but we want to make sure that all of our formatting is correct. So it looks like profit is not a currency, so we're going to make it a currency by going to profit. We'll right click and go default properties and number format, and we're going to make it a currency custom with 0 decimal places, and we'll select OK. So now we have profit shown the way we want to, and sales per customer should also be a currency. So we'll find sales per customer, go default properties and number format. It'll be 0 decimal places, and we're going to select OK. So count is okay to be a number, quantity is okay to be a number. We have sales as our currency, profit is our currency, profit margin is our percentage. So it looks like we have everything the way we want it. So now we can start making our dashboard.